Hi, everyone, and I'm very excited to have Ori Kagan here with us, who is going to talk about his work, especially in the video and storytelling production, as he has vast experience, especially in the Kickstarter campaigns. Ori, welcome aboard. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hi, Natasha. Thanks so much for having me here. Fast. Yeah, it's still hard to sort of comprehend when you take the point to like look back in your life and see all you did to get to the point where you are. So it's always very humbling to think about it. But let me tell you a little about where I started my journey, and that was when I was a 13-year-old playing with just plastic lightsabers in the backyard. And we always wanted to make a Star Wars film. So for my 13th birthday, I got a video camera from my parents, and we put in my Aikido gear, and we pretended we were a Jedi, and we filmed all these fights. And then we wanted to make it realistic. We wanted to have actual lightsabers. So I found there was this software called After Effects. Back then, I think it was like After Effects 6. It was even before Creative Cloud. And we downloaded the software, and I figured it out how to make the lightsaber glow and to make lightning and all these effects. And don't worry, nobody's ever going to see this movie.
Oh, I thought it's a promise, but
but that was the beginning of my sort of understanding of I want to become a filmmaker. Okay, I want to tell amazing, fantastical journeys, stories in fantastical worlds. And then I set off to live my life. I did, in Israel, you need to do the army service. So I did the army service for 3 years. And after that, I went to film school in Tel Aviv. And that's when that dream started fracturing a little, because I clearly remember the day they took us on a tour to the studios, the biggest studios in Israel. And they showed us around, and I could see how people there weren't having fun. Let's just say you could see that they were a little bit dead inside. The work was very hard, very grueling, and I could understand that this is not a place where I would thrive in. So after my studies, I became an editor, because that's where I felt like I had the most control on my storytelling. And I went to work in a marketing studio. So I learned a lot about marketing through that. But on the other hand, it was a very hard, very repetitive, and a very toxic work environment. The 9 to 5, making the same marketing video over and over and over again. And I kept trying to break through, finding new ways to make stuff. I started teaching myself animation as I was working there. And I created this whole department for animation in the company. But it was such a bad place to be in. And after 2 years, when they wouldn't even let me leave the job to go take care of my sick kids, which was really, really bad, I realized I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to let anyone control my life. And I quit and became a freelancer. And that decision, being pushed and pushed and pushed, that decision of breaking out and choosing my own path was literally the best decision I could have ever made. Because a month later, I doubled my income just from freelance projects. Just putting myself out there, things started coming. And as our financial situation sort of balanced, I started looking at my other hobbies and my original dreams. And I always loved playing board games, as you can see. And board games a lot of them use Kickstarter nowadays, crowdfunding, to become a reality. And crowdfunding always needs a very strong pitch video. And I was a backer myself on many projects, and I always felt like, I think I can do something pretty good there for that spot. Okay, Kickstarter videos for board games, very, very small niche topic. And I started by finding a few clients and making videos for nearly nothing, just to have something I could show. And then I showed that work to someone else and they liked it. Then they hired me to make another video. And this time I could charge a little bit more. And then it went really fast, just word of mouth, because the smaller the niche is, that everybody seems to know each other. And that's especially true about the board game community. And things just started coming in. And eventually, after another 2 years, I shut off my freelancing business entirely here in Israel. And right now I'm exclusively working only on board game videos. And not only that, my workload was so big, I had to hire help. And now I have a whole team which take care of the whole process, from script. We have script writers, we have voiceover actors, we have additional animators for different types of videos. We have sound designers, and I never had to do 1 ounce of like marketing or reaching out, except for clients I really wanted to work with. And that was when I realized, okay, I think I'm good at this. Let's see if we can take it to the next level. And the first big client I landed was for this game over here, Star Realms, which was one of my absolute favorites. It's really the game that got me into the hobby. And there was a lot of what's called Israeli chutzpah involved, because what I did was I basically created 2 videos as fan films based on their property. And I just put it out there to gain their attention. And it did. They asked me to put a disclaimer. They loved it. And just to make sure that they know that they authorized it and I'm using their assets. And when they announced their new game, I realized that was my chance. And I sort of just messaged them directly. And I said, look, I don't care what it takes. I want to work on this. And they said, okay, we love your work. Let's have a chat. And fast forward, I made now about 4 videos for them. And the latest one was for the next expansion for Star Realms. And I was very proud of myself. It's just another milestone reached. So one caveat about working on Kickstarters, and soon I'll get a little bit about my process and how that works, but Kickstarters need to make a big impact really fast. And a lot of these first clients and a lot of these first projects which I worked on, unfortunately failed. Okay, the campaign failed. It didn't take off. And they kept telling me it was not about the video. The video was amazing. And by asking them some questions, I realized that there was always some other problem. They didn't have the audience. The marketing wasn't directed towards the right target audience. They didn't have a big enough following. The messaging wasn't honed in. And then I realized that making pretty things is nice, okay? Making banger videos, cool effects and stuff like that is nice, but I was looking to give a bigger and deeper solution to my clients. Something that I know would work for them and not just look nice. So I started diving into the whole world of marketing and brand strategy, not because I want to become now a brand strategist, not because I want to completely change what I do, but I want the service I provide to have a bigger impact, to have it based on research and discovery and testing things out. And that's where I'm at today. And it's really, it makes such a big difference. The moment you know why you're making what you're making, what is it for, who is it for, and what's the most important thing to them, you find that the most important things to focus on shifts a bit. So yeah, that's more or less where I'm at today.
I recognize so much of the, especially this sort of going rogue, meaning, you know, going on your own path and doing this resonates with me so much. Been there, done that, and the best decision ever. So yeah, oh, yeah. Wonderful. Oh, yeah. As a storyteller, I mean, this is all about storytelling. Through the video, you are really going into the right angles of the project and answering all of these who, why, when, blah, 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 all of these questions that come with the project itself. So in your experience and overall, working with the different kind of also like bigger companies, but also indie, smaller, or even solo developers, any takeaways or some tips that you would like to share with us here, like especially from where to start? Because again, as fellow nerds, we are really like passionate of what we do when it comes to the projects that we work on, especially for, as I said, like indie and smaller companies. And still, it's sometimes really hard to tell that story, like really to dive deep, because you are too close to the project, and some stuff that are really not obvious out there, but are for you because, again, you're too close to it. So any takes on that? Anything you want to share on that?
I love that question about how do you see the big picture if you're too close to it? And that's, that moment. I love this moment when I meet clients for the first time and I hear their story. And I always ask, where did this start? Because I work with a lot of indie developers, a lot of people that this is their first game. And even, bigger companies, they always have that moment where they reflect back and you can see that nostalgic times for when they got that initial idea of, I think I have something here. I think this is something that could actually work, that I'm willing to invest the time and money and energy in. And it's always very, very special. And as they get into the nitty gritty of finding the right the right place to print it and getting quotes and logistics and growing a following, and the creative part of it starts diminishing, because they already have the product, they play tested it, they know it works, they have very good feedback. Then they discover that there's this whole side of the process, which is basically building a business. And a lot of creative people, it's very hard for them. A lot of my clients, just like me, are very introverted. They have a hard time, shouting their game out in social media and stuff like that. And they have an amazing story. They just don't know how to tell it. Or they feel a little bit of imposter syndrome. It's like, oh, who wants to know about me, or who wants to know about my things? So what I try to do is, by asking questions, pointed questions, I try to get to the bottom of really what makes them tick, and what makes this project, why does it exist? Because there is a reason. There's always a reason. No one works too long on something which he doesn't believe in. So we try to delve into the big picture. We start like the big picture of viewing things, the mission, the vision, and the goals and the purpose of what he's doing. Why is he doing? Does he want to do this as a side creative project? Or is this like a whole business which he wants to quit his day job and commit himself to this thing? That's a whole different conversation. Where is he allocating his budgets? Where is he allocating his time? My goal is to, after I get all this information and I understand what's the story he's trying to tell, is to take as much as I can off his shoulders and to use the data to really drive and tell the story with him, not for him, but with him. And I could give an example of, this is a recent video I did, and I'll share my screen. Okay, and this was a wonderful game of squirrels that need to collect nuts. And let's see the video, and then I'll tell you about it.
In the bright autumn forest, the territorial squirrels are on the hunt for nuts. Nut Hunt is a fast-paced squirrel placement game where 1 to 5 players battle for control of the forest. Forage for nuts, recruit squirrels, and build nests to expand your territory and meet your goals. But beware, the wily fox roams the forest, scattering squirrels and breaking up territory. Clever squirrels, however, know how to use the fox to their advantage by scattering their rivals' critters, or even by sending it after their own team to chase them into hard-to-reach areas. Once 3 squirrels gather in the same place, a nest is formed. This is important, for placing your 4th nest ends the game. Earn points for completed objectives. Lose points for failed objectives. and become the squirrel champion of the forest. Explore the ever-changing forest, forage for nuts, recruit squirrels, and hassle the fox. Join the hunt in Nut Hunt.
A lot of the process into creating that video was really about what is the experience you want your customers to feel. We never want to explain the game from beginning to end. Videos aren't meant for, well, there are videos which are called explainer videos, and there it's about data, okay? You're giving information, and the person is in a different mindset when he watches that video because he should be already invested. And that's why they're longer, they're boring, let's just say, but they're just more deductive. When you do marketing videos, you're talking to the other side of the brain, you're talking to the emotional side of the brain. You really want to nail in about what it is, the experience of owning this game, of playing it, of being in this world. And that's why this client, it was so important for him to make this immersive world where we feel like we're part of the game. We're seeing the squirrels bouncing around. And it has this, you notice they had the mechanic of the fox jumping and all the squirrels are scattering. That was the initial idea. That was the core of that game. That aha moment was that mechanic of one piece jumping and scattering everything else. And that's the moment where he's like, this is like squirrels. And suddenly everything connected. And it was wonderful seeing that, you know, the moment he was telling me that story, that his eyes lit up and I could see, okay, that's the most important thing. That mechanic of bouncy squirrels when something jumps towards them. And that informed how we made the video. We built this beautiful immersive, and the art of the game is amazing. So we tried to reference that with the world we created, with the colors, with the energy, with the music. Everything became informed on that vision. And his Kickstarter was very successful. He tripled his funding goal. He did around $30,000 to $35,000, and he asked for 10. And now he's on, and we're working on his next game because that was his dream. He wanted this to be the first game, and he wanted to make it a big impact, build his audience, and go on to the next one. And I'm really excited to see where it goes. So that's an example of a more classic video, okay? We're just showing the game, giving you a rundown of what you're going to experience. Some projects are completely different. Some projects you need to show you want to show less gameplay and more theme, okay? And I know video games do this a lot with their cinematics. They give this big cinematic teaser in the beginning. It shows no gameplay at all, but really focuses on the feeling, okay? The story. Who am I going to play? What is my goal? What is my mission? And what is stopping me from getting that? And what will I get if I achieve that? So here's another example. And now we're going back to my favorite client, Wise Wizard Games, that made Star Realms. And they came to me with an interesting project. They had the animation done. They already had the animation. The video was complete, but it was just not working for them. They partnered with a video game company that was making an app based on that board game. And they had the animation, but it's not working. So we thought quickly about how can we convey that same experience of that excitement. It's a game about robots, like Pokemon, just with robots. Okay, you have your little robot, they battle each other, you fix them up, and you go straight into the battle. And it's just very cute, high energy. So we decided to write a rap song to go with that video. And I've never done that before, but I always say yes, and then I figure out how to do it. So I found a rapper, we found a composer, and we basically produced this track that would fit the same video exactly. And it literally propelled the video to a whole new level. That campaign, well, first of all, let's see it, okay?
Yeah. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen. Let's get ready to rumble. Pink against blue. Train hard and play hard. It's all up to you. In robot rock. Quest arena, it's a battle to the top and a battle to somebody by drop. The opponent laying down on the ground near shot. With light flash and the warning signs won't stop, yeah. Until it's time to respond and get back in the game and give it all you got, yeah. Give it all you got. Give it all you got. Back to your fight, it's time to build your robot and upgrade it too. The fun just don't stop, so don't give up. You can respond again and be sure to do everything you can to win. So fight, die, respond, and don't ever give up until the battle's won. To get the win, put it all on the line. It's robot arena, pick a side.
So unfortunately, that wasn't the version with the subtitles, but did you manage to make out the lyrics?
I really understand now what you meant, but because if this just had a cool soundtrack, in the sense that, you know, some music going, it would be a completely different experience. But this is really getting into the why you're doing it, how you're doing it, like why you're playing this game. And definitely for the, I mean, for the video games, as you mentioned, like you are selling that fantasy of what experience you're going to have. While in the board games, it's more, again, how you're going to do, like, what is that mechanic that really is, and it's more social, depends, of course, on the video game, but board games are more social. So therefore, it's also about the others and how everything else clicks together. Fantastic work. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much. So that video blew up. It went completely, I mean, I don't know what equates to viral, but in this industry, but every single content creator and reviewer, they were talking about the video and singing the song because some of the biggest video game channels, Good Time Society, for example, they said, "Oh, the song slaps," and they just talked about the video for like a whole minute before they talked about the game itself. So. And that campaign was a great success. I think it was over 400,000. Let me just check. I don't want to say the numbers wrong. Almost $500,000. Okay, $475,000. And we didn't show any gameplay. I mean, you have no idea if this is the game for you or this is the type of game you play. But the feeling of wanting to be in this world can be so much stronger that everything else is negligible. I don't care if this isn't the game for me. I want to feel that feeling, which I've just felt seeing this video. And that's what I try to do. And that's what I try to discover together with my clients. And, you know, for service providers out there, this process, ever since I started doing it, the amount of revisions, the amount of pushback from my clients, and the amount of having creative control being taken away from me was almost nothing, because we're sort of building this together. We are in the same vision. We see eye to eye, and we both know what would be the best for this product, because we're not selling a video, we're selling a game. So everything should be focused on that goal in mind. And it completely changed the way I worked. And this is also true for major IPs. And I'm so happy that I had the chance to work on things which I've never even imagined I would be working on. I worked on the board game for Skyrim, the official Skyrim board game, and for an RPG about Dune, which is also one of my favorite things ever. You see right next to the lightsaber, I have a Chris knife. Terminator RPG, which was a great thing. And lately, something I can't talk about yet, but I worked on some franchise that has to do with space wizards, and I can't say anything else. A lot of dreams have been fulfilled lately, and it's just a matter of seeing, well, what's the next one? What's the next big thing that we could do? And I think it's just really important that the intention is always wanting to really help and make something really effective, and never saying, I can't do that. Trying to say yes first and then finding the way to do it. It doesn't have to even be you. You can find someone to help you do it. That's how I grew my team. There were, my 3D animation skills got to a certain limit. And when we worked on the Skyrim video, for example, so I wanted to create this whole world, this living, breathing world that will feel like Skyrim. That was really important to me. So I found someone who's an expert in environments, and he built an environment which was literally copied one for one from one of the maps. And an example for, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. We literally downloaded assets from the game itself, and for example, the main model and stuff like that, and used it in our video. And then we asked for permission, and they said, yes, of course. And this video was authorized by Bethesda within 4 hours. And my client said they've never had anything authorized as fast as this video. Art, components, anything, it always takes around a week to 2 weeks. But for this, they saw this and they said, you nailed it. And it's just the same process. It's finding out, who are you talking to? What's the story you're trying to tell? And what's the feeling and emotion you want to evoke in your audience?
I mean, you did nail it.
Thank you.
It's
$1.6 million raised. So I was very, very proud of that, because it was scary, but scary things are good. That's another thing which I always take with me is if I'm doing something and it feels too safe, and I've done this a million times, I'll just rinse and repeat. That's where I start getting flashbacks to that studio I worked in, because that was all it was about, just doing the same thing over and over, quantity over quality. And yeah, I'm doing all I can to stay away and make sure every single piece I create is completely unique, completely for that client, for that product, and for that audience. And just making sure everybody's having a good time playing and keeping the fun in this process. That is so vital. This is all about games. The process of making games should always be fun. And that's my true goal to hopefully bring with my work and my relationships.
And you definitely have been doing it so far. So thank you, Ori, so much for sharing your story and sharing your work. For those who have questions and comments, please do post them in Discord, and Ori will be there as well to answer them. So thank you once again, and all your contacts, so people can just reach out to you. Is that okay? So you can also, we will share the links to your website and so forth, so then people can also directly approach you, and then you can share even more wisdom with them and potentially even new partnerships.
I would love that. I'm always open to even just talking and meeting people. That's always fascinating to me, just to hear about people's life stories and how they got to where they are. I always think we can learn from that. And if there's any way we can help, then that's good. But even just creating relationships is something we should all strive for, and play games together.
And that's what We Love Games is all about. So thank you once again for being with us. And yeah, and good luck with all of your upcoming projects. I can't wait to see what more you have up your sleeve.
Thank you so much, Natasha. It's been a pleasure.